as we're getting ready to play, because I have a Gibson guitar, like Les Paul, and then like our guitar tech, quote unquote guitar tech, which is our friend Bob. His last name was Gibson, so we were just joking around because like he's like, oh well, I've got my name on that guitar, and then Carl Alvarez just happens to walk by, and he just goes, oh yeah, I've got a couple guitars with my name on it, and then we're just like, oh my God, Carl Alvarez. And he just walked up to us, but we're about to go on stage, like the guy's like waving us over, but I can't tell Carl Alvarez to stop talking so that I can go on stage because there's just like 15-year-old me would be punching me, but like don't you let Carl talk until he's done talking.
Hello, welcome to 3 Gigs, the podcast that tells the stories of 3 shows that have had a profound effect on a performer's life and career. Their very first show, their best show, and their worst show. I'm your host, Dominic Davy, and today my guest is Guili Remondi, guitarist for the band Sketchy. This episode of 3 Gigs is brought to you by FreshCleanTees.com. It works like a shave club, but they send you t-shirts, super awesome t-shirts. And they have a special offer for all the listeners of 3 Gigs. Save 20% off your first order by going to FreshCleanTees.com and entering the coupon code GIG at checkout. That's FreshCleanTees.com with offer code GIG. Sketchy formed in 2013 out of Brooklyn, New York, and spent their first year as a band pretty much how every band does and played local shows around the area. But that changed in 2016 when they landed a spot on the New Jersey date of the Punk Rock Bowling Festival. Now this would end up starting a streak for the band. Soon after they landed a spot on Pouzza Fest in Montreal, Quebec, and then a spot on New York's famous Punk Island Festival, and followed that up with a spot on Florida's Fest this last year. So Sketchy's been growing at an incredible rate and really making a name for themselves, especially on the North American East Coast. And I met them when they shared a stage opening for my band at our last New York show. And they were an incredible band. They were fun, they had a lot of energy, the songs were great, and they were a great bunch of guys. And after chatting with guitarist Guili Remondi, he hit me up about being on this show, and I had a feeling it would make for a great episode. And I wasn't wrong. I mean, how does a band nowadays go from playing local shows to becoming festival darlings? Well, his answer in retrospect, I think, was somewhat obvious.
I just sent emails, and it was like a weird streak where, like in 2016, everyone just said yes to me. Like even like the guys in my band were like, "Really, you're gonna ask Punk Rock Bowling? Like, you think we're gonna play with No Effects and Bad Religion and Rancid?" I'm like, well, it doesn't hurt to ask. Like it's the first time they're doing it in Jersey. I made a point of saying that we're a Brooklyn band. Like, hey, do you want a local opener? And like literally the next day we got the answer back, and everyone just like, how the fuck did you? I was like, I told you, just send an email. If they say no, they say no. But at least send the email.
Yeah, at least ask, and you just be nice, and people like to work with you, and everybody's cool. And it's like, there you go. You guys are a good band, man. You show off well, you play well, you're strong players, the songs are great. Like, it's just, that's what happens. That's awesome, man. Props to you.
Thanks.
So, okay. Tell me about the very first show you played that you actually showed me a photo from. So I'm definitely putting that on the page, by the way. That's coming out for sure.
Yeah. So the first show, I kind of like 2 little stories for it. The one in the picture is my first actual show ever. Was in one of our childhood friends. They had a backyard. Her name was Alana. And she was actually the daughter of Congressman Steve Israel, which is like a fun fact for us as friends, like growing up. But I didn't know most of the songs yet. Like I joined the band maybe a week or so before, and like in 1 or 2 practices, I learned like half the set. And they're like, all right, well, it's fine. You can still play it. And then just the songs that you don't know, just hang out on the side. So I literally just stood there for like half the set.
I gotta say, you look a little terrified.
Oh, do you know this one?
You look a little like, what?
Well, I was 14.
Yeah, you're like, what are we playing?
I was 14 in that picture.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, what? Which one? The one with E? I know that one. Okay, cool.
That's exactly what you look like when you look at it. You're like, what? E? Oh, yeah, okay, good. I'm in. I'm there.
Got it. Cool. Okay. If I just catch up on the first chorus, we're good. And so, yeah, that was the first show we played, like that I ever played, like in my life in front of people. And it was nice, she would do the backyard parties, and like all the high school friends would show up, and then the neighborhood kids would show up. So it was a good turnout for, something thrown together by a 14-year-old on Long Island. And then my first real show, quote unquote, like in a club, we somehow opened up, like I'm 90% sure it's this band called the Junior Varsity that was on Victory Records at the time. Like they had just signed to Victory. And they used to do, at this venue, at that time it was called the Village Pub South on Long Island. And they would do like a barbecue thing in the summertime, like all ages shows. So, we somehow got on it. Probably our bass player is usually the one who would send emails out to try to get on shows. And it was the first time playing in front of like actual people at a bar, worrying about loading in and doing that whole the sound check and everything. And we were terrified because we had to that point played a backyard show or like in basements, just like to our two friends who would show up for band practice. And after the show, the guys paid us, but they paid us like, I want to say it was like close to like $300, $400. And we didn't say anything because at the time, like, oh wow, like this whole punk rock thing, like this is great. The trickle down from Blink-182 still kicking. And we thought that that's just how much money you get at shows. And then after we left, we realized that after playing more shows, we realized, oh no, they thought that we were the guys at the Junior Varsity, and they paid us their money, but we just left, and no one, like, to this day, no one's ever like chased us down for it.
Oh wow, that's really funny. I mean, are you sure that they paid?
And to this day, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they ever got paid because like we just got paid, and they're like, all right, you guys are good to go if you guys are all loaded out, and the show's over. And we're like, yeah, all right, cool, and we just left. No one ever said anything to us after that.
The guy probably had to eat it. It's probably his fault. That's so funny. Yeah. Well, that's pretty great to get paid so well on your first show. They're not usually, as you probably found out, they're not so usually generous. No, they're not. To this day, I think it's still like the second most money I've ever made in a show, and I was 14, and it was my first show. So that's amazing. But it was so awesome. I started off really, really hot. It was like a one-day, one-hit wonder, and then just fell off. My career started and ended when I was 14 years old. Well, at least you had the moment. You had your 15. I don't know. It sounds like 2016 from our conversation earlier. It sounded like 2016 and the run of festivals all saying yes. It sounds like it's you're having, I don't know, man. Maybe you got the touch, maybe you're the one that should be like, cut the deals at the end of the night, It's like you're not always going to hit it, but like you're lucky enough where you might, you should be playing lotto. Right. Every now and then. You're just the one that should be like, they designate like, yeah, maybe you should just try and get this, see what happens. Right. I'm not saying you're going to get it. But... Hey man, I made us $8,000 tonight. Well, it definitely makes sense why you would be encouraged to keep going with that kind of payout. Oh yeah, we were the delusions of what the music industry was going to be. I was convinced, like, college? Why do I need college? I'm making $400 a night doing this. Nope. No. Yeah. No, and then, but, obviously it wasn't so bad. You kept slugging along. Well, okay, so if that was, those are great stories on the first show, but like, all right, so what would be what you would consider one of the best shows of all time? Like a moment where you guys were like, yeah, this is fantastic. This is it. And it could be a couple shows. Our moment. No, okay, go ahead. Oh no, I was just saying, or it could be a couple. You can tell a couple stories, whatever you want, just whatever. Yeah, I mean the big one would be playing punk rock bowling in Asbury the first year that they had it in New Jersey. It's actually the first time ever that I brought my parents to a show, because at that time I was just like, you know what, like I've been in bands for like on and off for about 10 years since like early high school, and my mom was always like on my like halfway me like, you should really try to think of a more stable thing, and like the band thing, like I know it's like a hobby for you, but is it really going to work out? The chances are really low. And then I was like, and I knew she was like, right.
But then I took them to punk rock bowling when we were playing with the Descendants, with H2O, 80s Fingers Louie, Iron Sheik. It was insane. And Dag Nasty was playing. They had just started their reunion. And so we get there, we're pulling in, and there's already like a bunch of people online outside. We ended up playing to like over 2,000 people. And later that week, so I have a 6-year-old sister who was born 21 years and 1 day before, like after me.
Oh, wow.
So I'm June 15th, she's June 14th.
That's crazy.
And punk rock bowling was like June, I know it's nuts. Punk rock bowling was like June 7th or something, whatever the date was. So I was like, all right. So I saw her in the front, and just in that moment, I don't know like, what came to me. I was like, hey, is anyone here? Because there's a bunch of kids. Like, is anyone here? Is this their first show? It's like all the little kids, you know, or like the dads and moms would like raise their kids up, and I said they can, you know, raise their hands and stuff. I'm like, all right, well, I have my sister here. It's her first show ever, and she's going to be 4 next week. Can everyone just say a quick happy birthday for her? And so, you know, 2,500 people said happy birthday, Gabby. And to this day, like I was just over at my parents' house last weekend, and then she's still jumping around like, do you remember the time with the birthday at the concert? And like, so it's like a lasting memory for her, which is really nice.
That is awesome.
And it kind of like validates the whole situation for me and my family. Like for them to see that I got 2,500 people to say happy birthday to my about to be 4-year-old sister.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
No, that's amazing. That's really
and
cool.
And then backstage was crazy too.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You just hang out
so
and sing
backstage, I know we were so afraid to talk to anybody. And as we're getting ready to play, because I have a Gibson guitar, like Les Paul, and then like our guitar tech, quote unquote guitar tech, which is our friend Bob, his last name was Gibson. So we were just joking around because like he's like, oh well, I've got my name on that guitar, and then Carl Alvarez just happens to walk by, and he just goes, oh yeah, I've got a couple guitars with my name on it, and then we're just like, oh my God, it's Carl Alvarez. And he just walked up to us, but we're about to go on stage, like the guy's like waving us over. But I can't tell Carl Alvarez to stop talking so that I can go on stage because it was just like, 15-year-old me would be punching me. Like, don't you let Carl talk until he's done talking. And then I met Brian Baker backstage. Yeah. And then I met Brian Baker, and I was like, hey, I don't want to bother you. I just want to say I'm a big fan. Like, between Bad Religion and Dag Nasty and Minor Threat, like I just want to say I'm a fan. Thanks for everything you've done. And I was just trying to do a quick like handshake and walk. And he was just like, hey man, that was really sweet of you. Like, thanks for stopping me to tell me about that. Like you're getting, don't get all mushy. And he's like, no, I'm going to get all mushy. And I was like, well, you can't get all mushy because I'm going to get all mushy. So we had like a really funny little moment like that backstage. And it was just crazy time.
That's so awesome. No, that's,
yeah.
I completely understand. It was really funny because like one of the more significant shows for me was when my dad got to see me play this place in San Francisco called the Fillmore, and like he came out to see the show and was just like, you could tell like he was super stoked, and he was always the one family member that was super in my corner about music, But like, so right. I totally understand the significance of having your family there, and then like hearing your story about punk rock bowling reminds me of the first time I went to Warped Tour. And just, overwhelmed with, like, being on that tour for the first time. It's such an experience when you're, like, suddenly, like, thrust in on, like, semi-equal footing with all these musicians and bands that you've heard of for so long. It's, it's really crazy. It's such a crazy feeling. It's hard to describe to people who haven't experienced it, Because you just...
Right.
You don't want to make an ass of yourself. You're just trying to hang out, and you got this job to do too. You're trying to make sure you do well.
Right. Yeah, and even like Dennis from 80 Fingers Louie, I was talking to him about it, and I was just like, hey man, you know what? Like towards the end of the day, I was like, you know what? This is really crazy. Like it's great. This is probably gonna be the peak of my career. Like after this, like I'm done. Like we're never gonna play something like that again. He's like, why would you say that? If you guys are here now, that means you're probably gonna you're doing something right, and you're gonna end up back here in a couple of years. Like don't worry about it. And he gave me like a little nudge. So like it was just cool that like the people that we've been looking up to since we were kids. Like I had 88 Fingers Louie T-shirts when I was in middle school, and I had Bad Religion posters on my wall. And these are people that are like talking to me as if, like I said, even for that one day, like we're all on the same level. And there was no like big rock star egos. There was no like we're gonna just hang out in the tent. And if you're not in Dag Nasty, like we have a guy in the front making sure that you don't walk into our tent, things like that.
Yeah.
And just really humbling experience. Really cool.
It's really funny. I mean, one thing about punk rock that I think is significant that isn't always talked about as much these days is that I think it's a great leveler as far as the music scene goes compared to the others. Like in punk rock, like we have the bands that are huge and everyone gets really stoked about, but the truth is the audience is as important as the musicians in the music as far as the show goes. It's like a very important like relationship between the two, and then it's also pretty much, I mean, you get those weird egos and those kind of weird dudes that, guys and girls that are just kind of heads are up their ass, but for the most part, man, everybody's pretty fucking cool. We're all music nerds, some of us just decided to practice instruments and start playing them, but like it's just supposed to be at its best a very equalizing scene, where everybody's welcome. That's what it's supposed to be. That is its idealized stance. I mean, and I totally remember like the first time I played Warped Tour with Tsunami Bomb in 2000. We were on it for a few days, and it was so... We showed up in Phoenix, Arizona. It was so scary. I was so nervous. I was standing in the main office, and this guy comes up, and I'm just so... I'm trying not to look like I don't belong, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to pick up our passes. I'm just really fucking like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, I've never even done a festival before. I'm in this like office, and this guy comes up, and he's standing there, and it's a super punk rock dude, and I'm just standing there, and he's like, hey man, how's it going? And I was like, good. And he's like, looks at me, and he's like, is it your first day on the tour? And I was like, yeah. Is it that obvious? And he goes, no, you don't have a pass. He goes, you're waiting in line. I figured that's what you guys are here for. And I was like, oh yeah. And he's like, yeah, man, I hope you have a really great time. Welcome to the tour. It's a fucking good thing, man. It's a good show. And I was like, thanks, dude. I really appreciate it. He's like, no problem. And then I see Lars Fredriksson walking down the hallway, and then he's like, hey Tim, let's go. And Tim's like, okay. And then he's like, great meeting you, man. I was like, that was Tim Armstrong. I'm a fucking idiot. I was like, I didn't even like.
Great to meet me.
Yeah, I was so tripping out. I didn't even realize it was him. And then
that's funny.
Yeah, and then like throughout the day, like, so when it was time to eat lunch, this you'll appreciate this story after your stories. Like, you'll really appreciate this one because like I'm the way Warped Tour is, I don't know if you've guys done it or not, but like the way it is, it's like they have this catering area and you go there and there's like a line, everyone's there, and then there's all these tables, and so I walk out and I'm like, all of a sudden I get this overwhelming feeling of the cafeteria at high school, like. I look out and I see all the tables are full, and it's all full of people that I know who they are, but I don't know anyone. And it's like, I see the like super cool, super cool kids. Like, it's like Rancid and AFI, and everyone's hanging out and they're all in black and just fucking looking awesome. And then it's almost like looking at the student council over there, and it's me first in the Gimme Gimmes and Newfound. It was just me first in the Gimme Gimmes and the Fat Crew. It's like, yeah, okay. And then another table, it's like the student council of like the Ataris and Newfound Glory. And I'm like, oh my God. And then you got the like, the cool nerdy kids, I guess, which is like Less Than Jake and a couple bands there. And it's like, I know who all these people are, but what the fuck do I sit? I can't sit anywhere in here.
Right.
So I was just like,
like your first day of lunch in high school.
Yeah, I'm sitting there with my tray staring, going, what do I do now? And like all the tables are full. So I walk over to this fucking corner, all sad and pathetic, and I just sit down and start eating my food in this corner. And I'm like, and then like slowly but surely some of my band members show up, and I see the same like moment of terror on their faces, and then they kind of like slowly walk through, and then like this one guy walks up and he's like, hey, can I join you guys? And I was like, yeah, have a seat. And it's like this other guy, I was like, is it your first day on the tour? He's like, yeah. And I was like, what's your name? He's like, oh, my name's Dustin, I'm in Thrice. And I'm like, hey, I'm Tom from Tsunami Bomb. And then like a couple guys from Madcap show up, like that had just been on there for the first time, and then like it was just like all these like young bands like suddenly sat in the corner, like all the freshmen. Like, because we had no table to go to. There wasn't any table for us to eat at.
It's like watching Mean Girls. Like, well, you can't sit there.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to sit there. And it's like,
right. And I'm friends with
like,
all those
how do you
people.
do? What do you do?
Yeah, and all those bands that sat down, whether they're still bands or not, like all the like kids that started that day in Phoenix, Arizona, that in 2000, like I'm still friends with all those people. So it's super funny.
Right.
But the last thing is at the end of the day, so we played, it went well, it was crazy, it was hot, it was nuts, like just like you said, running into people, and I was sitting there like just tripping off this moment. And Warren from the Vandals walked up, and we had played with them, but I don't think we had signed with Kung Fu yet, but like we knew them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Hey Dominic, what's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, just tripping out, being here, it's kind of nuts." And he's like, "Yeah, I guess it's kind of hot." I was like, "Yeah," but I was like, "It's just weird to be here, you know, my little band, and like trying to be part of this." And he goes, "You know what? I'll never forget this." And he doesn't remember this, but it was the nicest thing. He looked over at me and he's like, "They're all assholes that breathe the same air, you know? Everybody's just lame in the same way. We're all just a bunch of fucking nerds." He's like, "You know, just have fun.
Right.
Fuck them. Fuck everybody. Fuck everybody." He like yells it out. He's like, "Just have fun." I was like, "Thanks, Warren." He's like, "No problem. I'll talk to you later, Dom." And he like walks
thanks
off.
for breaking the ice with everyone in the room.
Yeah, he was the coolest. I always appreciated Warren for that. Like, it was like same kind of thing, like that you got told. Like, it's just you're there, man. You belong there, you know. And don't just assume it's your only moment. Like, if you got there, you can get there again.
Right.
You can do it. You know, it's like it's worth it.
I mean, I feel like in this business, quote unquote business, you kind of have to be like the eternal optimist, because otherwise, if you don't believe that you're going to be somewhere, then you're not going to get there, and then B, you're like, oh well, we're probably not going to play punk rock bowling again, so I'm just never going to email them. I'm not going to ask. Or we're probably not going to play Pooza again, so like that's probably just sort of one time. Like, it's fine. I won't email them. I'm not going to bother them about trying to get on again. Like, no, like now you have the door open, and that's exactly when you should be. You're like, hey, we played a couple years ago. Remember us? Is there a spot? And like, because now you have like the rapport with the people, whether it's other bands or it's people who run the festival or people who do the stage stuff, like whatever it is, you know. And you get more. You have to. What is it? Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always used to joke about the music quote unquote business, to borrow from you, which I agree. It's the weirdest thing because you're like telling a lie until it becomes true, like. You know, this band is big. This band is big and worth your time. This band is awesome. This band is awesome. This band is awesome. And then all of a sudden it becomes true. The band's awesome. You know what I mean? You're like trying to convince everybody to come see your band, give a shit about your band until they suddenly do. And then they do. But,
yeah.
I don't know. I got told one bit of advice I'm going to name drop again. Matt Freeman from Rancid, he told me once that he's like, we don't play music because we want to. We play music because we have to. Because you have to do it. You know? So, like, I kind of tell everybody nowadays, like, don't go out there trying, like, to figure out some way to be big or some way to be humongous or anything. It's like, dude, just go out there and play. You know? It's like, it sounds like the simplest advice, but it's just like, just do it because you love doing it. Like, and you know, play like really be honest about playing. Don't fake it. Don't phone it in. Like, put your heart out there. Get it out there. Do it because you love to do it. And if you love to do it, then like it doesn't really matter like what success happens. I mean, I know some people listening to me saying that will be. I guarantee somebody listening is like, you're out of your fucking mind. But I want to go somewhere. But it's like you're never gonna go anywhere unless unless you love it and you're willing to take the good and the bad and the downsides and the slow times and all that stuff. It's like you might as well love what you're doing.
Like, you can't be on the road 200 days a year if you hate it every day that you're on there. Then why are you doing it?
Right.
Like you said, like you do it because you have to do it, and which makes me think of, I forget, I was scrolling through Facebook the other day, and then someone who's like one of my artist friends wrote something like, well, like I hate writing like reviews about my art because the whole point is that the art is supposed to tell you the thing. If I just say it to you, that I'm not getting the same emotion out. But it's like me playing the guitar is the thing that you need to pay attention to. I'm not going to sit here and then write about why I play the guitar or how I play the guitar. Like, me playing the guitar is the message. Like, I sure have to go back can explain it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. No, it's funny how it all works. It's just this time around with my band, like, I care less about where it's gonna go than ever. I have no plan for my band right now, other than I just love being in Tsunami Bomb, and I wanted to write.
And that's the way it should be.
Those songs again. It should be. I mean, I don't know if it's like that for everybody, and I wish it was. Like, I don't care. I would be doing this. I didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, if I cared about being big, I probably, if I cared about that, like, I probably wouldn't have done this, because I have to deal with everybody comparing to how it used to be. So it's like, but I knew I wanted to play with these people again. And when we play together, we make the sounds we make is Tsunami Bomb. It just is. It always was. So it's like, it's great that it worked out. But I wouldn't have known that it was going to work out. I didn't know that it would do okay. I just knew that I loved doing it, and that's all I wanted to do. It's like, I talking to you, I can tell you do Sketchy because you love it. You love to play music and perform, and you love your band, and you just want to do it. You have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and I could tell also, like, between talking to you now, like, some people just say stuff like that, but I could tell that you're, like, not bullshitting about it.
No.
Because, like, when Sketchy played with Tsunami Bomb, like, when you guys came back, you're just like, well, I don't know, we'll play in this little club. What was it, like, 400 capacity venue? Like, if people show up, that's cool. Like, we're not going to try to ask to get onto this huge theater in New York. Like, we're just doing it because we want to have fun. And we want to, like, fall back in love with playing music. And I feel like sometimes bands will have, like, the ego. We're like, well, we haven't been a band in 10 years, so we're going to go right back to playing Urban Plaza. And it's like, well, no, like, A, people might not care. B, the fact that you automatically assume that people will care, like, then are you doing it for the right reasons, or are you doing it because you want to be in X band again, or just because you want to try to, like, just for, like, the money reasons, or the quote, like, the fame of it, like, just to be in a big band again.
We assumed, like, I don't know, in my case, we assumed it wouldn't do well. We didn't plan, we initially only planned to do a couple shows, and then we just assumed that people wouldn't really be into it, but we just had fun. But then it went well, and then it kept going well, and it, which is great, but I'm not really tripping on whether we play in front of thousands and thousands of people. Like, my dreams of rock stardom got pummeled into the ground a long time ago. Right now, I'm just grateful to be able to play with my friends again and write songs with my friends, and then to have a couple new friends involved that are, that are amazing. And I'm just grateful for its existence. It's like, to me, it's a miracle that I get to do this again. And the band that I started is back against all odds. So I'm grateful for it. And I think that that's how you have to be, even when, no matter what your situation, if you're starting a brand new band. I mean, I have a couple bands I'm about to start too, and I'm just excited about doing them. It's like, I just want to make music and with these amazing people, and if it does well, great. But for me, the success at this point in my life is just making it, making the actual process, and and playing these shows, it's like, they're validations. I mean, you got to play these festivals because your band is awesome. You have a good band. I played with you guys. You're a fucking awesome band. And you're just, as long as you love it and you're honest with it and you do it, like, what's the goal? I mean, it's like, what is the end goal? I mean, does there need to be one? Like, does it have to be conditional on becoming giant rock stars? It's like, is any of us really going to become Green Day? Do we actually want that? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just not worried about it anymore. Like, when I was younger, I was like trying, like, I want people to, like, love my band. I want to be huge. It's like, now I don't give a shit. Like, now I just want to enjoy the moment. And that's the best advice I can give everyone. Because if you're enjoying the moment and you love what you do and you're really giving it your all, and you're being honest up there, and it's like, you're kicking ass, then, like, people are going to be into it. Like, they will.
I think a big thing too is, like, it's whatever the expectations are that you set for yourself. And if you don't if you're just like, hey, I want to just go out and have a good time. And you're like, oh, it could be 10 people, it could be 100 people, it could be 1,000 people. But, like, I'm going to go on stage with my friends for half an hour and have a great time because that's what we do. We practice every Tuesday, and then we play shows every now and then.
Right.
But if you think about it, like, all right, we're going to go play this show. Like, I hope 1,000 people show up. And then let's say 500 people show up, right? Which is still an awesome number of kids going to our show. But now you're bummed out because in your mind, you set that number at 1,000. And
Right.
then once you do that, and then that's how you kind of like suck it out of yourself because it's your own fault for setting these, whatever the expectation is, when really at the end of the day, it's, are you doing it because you're having fun? Or what is your actual reason for being here?
Right. I mean, to me also, it's like Tsunami Bomb is not my whole life. It's one part of my life. It's an important part of my life. But I'm not completely defined by the success or failure of this particular band. You know, and somebody telling
Right.
me like, oh, I don't like it. I don't want to listen to it because so-and-so's not in it anymore. Or I'm just not into your music. It's like, fine. That's fine. I don't care. It's okay. That's
Right.
good.
The music is for me, and I hope you like it.
Yeah.
But like, I write the songs that I want to hear, the songs that I want to play, and then you just hope that there's enough people who care about it
Exactly.
even half as much as you do. And then if they don't, then they don't, and you'll find someone else who does.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just that. Like, then if what you're accomplishing is your goal. It's like it becomes worth it, and you've succeeded. You've reached your pinnacle. It's like you're just perfecting your craft. Like, I never cared about bands. Like, there's bands that open for us that are fucking humongous right now. You know, like we took Avenged
Right.
Sevenfold on their first tour of the South. You know, and they were great. They were fun. They're ridiculous, you know. And now they're a ridiculously huge metal band, which is crazy. But good for them. I don't care.
And they stole Brooks from Bad Religion.
They did take Brooks from Bad Religion.
They stole him.
Yeah. Well, I think they just offered him a lot of money. I think Brooks stole himself. And I'm happy for Brooks,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Bad Religion.
I'm sure for him too, because I think he was like one of the younger guys in Bad Religion. So it was probably one of those like situations where, well, A7X is probably going to be a band for another 15 years. I don't know that I can say that about Bad Religion.
Well, I would definitely say
I'm going to go do that.
Well, Avenged Sevenfold is a busier band, and they make a ton of money. You know, like, they're huge, which is crazy. But, like, you know, good for them. But it's just like, I don't know. I've never had that sort of jealousy with other bands. Like, to me, it's a competition with myself. Like, I'm competing with myself to do a better job, to do a better performance, to write better songs, to create better art, and do a better show for the people who are interested. You know, like you, I want people to like what I'm doing. It's not like to say I don't care isn't to say that I don't want, you know, if everyone was like, this sucks, I'd be like, oh, really? Does it really suck bad? Okay, maybe I should rethink this. But I don't know. I mean, it's just the act of doing it is really the goal. And, you know, I kind of feel like if you really love what you're doing and you put your whole heart in it and it's really something, you know, and it reaches people, you know, and people get it and people understand, you build an audience, like, you'll get what you want, you know, what people are looking for. You know what I mean? Look, and then also having the cheek to ask, look at you. You asked a bunch of festivals, like, hey, can I be on your festival? And you played just about every festival there is. Like, it's pretty awesome. That's, like, worth doing. And your band is benefiting because of it, you know?
It was a really crazy, like, year and a half span. Like I said, like, we did Punk Rock Bowling, and then right before that, we did Pooza, and then we did, like, another little, like, acoustic set outside at Pooza. And then there's a festival in New York called Punk Island that we played a couple times. And then actually me and Chris, the singer from Sketchy, we ran a stage there a couple of years ago. So it's like, whatever, you know, there is to do, we try to find our way to get on it. And, you know, like you said before, like, just to backtrack, like, everyone has their role in the punk community. Like, just because you, the general, you know, like, maybe you're not good at the guitar or you can't sing, well, then what can you do? Like, you can be a promoter, or you can be like a photographer, or you can just be the person who just goes to the shows and buys merch. Like, everyone has their role, and there's no, like, the ego of punk rock is just like, we're all here for the same reason, and just because I'm on the stage and you're not on the stage doesn't mean that we're not all here together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I think that moment is really important, that interaction. Like, I've always felt like you need to be involved with the people who are into your band, and you need to reach out to them, and you know, there's not supposed to be a barrier in punk rock, you know what I mean? You're not supposed to be rock stars. I mean, there's people who are respected, you know, but, like, you know, if any of them are, you know, we build people up in our own mind, but at its best, the punk scene is supposed to be a great equalizer. You know, we're all part of it. You know, it's like, the audience is just as important as the band. Because if the audience isn't having it at a punk show, it's like it just falls flat. But if the audience is into it and feeling it, the energy, it's like that's what makes a punk show. That's what makes it work. And it's an amazing moment when those moments come together. But
yeah, and it's just cool that like being friends with people around the world because of this crazy thing called punk rock.
Yeah,
and then realizing who you've met in the past, and you're like, oh wait a minute, like we crossed paths 10 years ago, like at such and such place. Like I actually remember you had Sal from Rebuilder on the show.
Yeah,
and you were talking to him about like he did stuff with like Dropkick Murphys or something, like did merch or whatever.
Yeah,
and then you had crossed paths that way.
Yeah, I didn't.
But
even
as
know.
he was talking, and yeah, because I remember, so you had like that moment where like you were like, oh, I'm sorry, I kind of trailed off in my mind because I went on this whole tangent in my head as you were talking about it, like realizing like, how do I know you? That's how I know you. And then as you were doing that, I had the literal exact same moment with Sal while listening to the episode, because he mentioned being in a band called Dead Ellington, and my old band No Rights Reserved played with Dead Ellington on Long Island in like 2006. And then I was just like, Sal, like I messaged on Facebook, I was like, Sal, did you realize that we've actually met 10 years ago? And he's like, what? Because, because you forget, like, you meet all these people for one night, and then they play a show, and then they're gone. They go back to Boston or whatever. And it's not till later that you realize, like, oh, holy crap, you were the guy that we were eating pizza with, like, after the show was over. And it's just crazy how it all comes full circle that way, just because of the fact that we all grew up liking a certain kind of music and then picked up a guitar one day.
Yeah, it's really funny that you said, I run into that a lot. And one of the there's a couple constants that I've learned from doing this podcast. And one is the best shows seem to happen in Europe on the whole. Everybody keeps saying that who's done it. Another one is that it's been really reassuring how many performers mention that, like, no matter how many people show up, they, if they see like even just, a couple people, if a couple people came, nobody's told me how they just give up. They just go, all right, let's do it. Let's make the best of it. We're going to go for it. But the other thing is, then the other lesson from if you listen to all the podcasts that you get, all the episodes you start hearing, is you never know who's in the crowd. You never know who you're talking to in punk rock, like who this crew member for a band actually is. Might be somebody in one of the bands you love, or or who you're impressing, who's going to come back around later and you're going to run into. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely best not to have like a crazy attitude and ego, because you never know who you're reaching out to, like who's in the audience watching, who's going to go on to start their own band, or who is in a band, or who you're going to run into later. It's really, in the end, a small scene. And it becomes smaller because there's only so many of us that choose the life of performing. And, you run into these people again and again, and you gotta, it's like, that's why I tell people, like, don't be rude. You never know who you're going to see again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, perfect example of that is literally this podcast. Like, like I grew up being a fan of Tsunami Bomb, and then we played with you guys.
Thank you.
And then now it's like, well, now that I know who you are, then I can be like, hey, Dom, remember me? I played in Sketchy. Are you interested in doing an episode of the podcast? And it can all come, it's all the same thing. Once you meet someone, you never know who they are. You don't know what that relationship could turn into. And don't let the fact that maybe these people were quote unquote your heroes as children, or whatever the case may be, that like deter you from like, hey, just go talk to them. Like, they could be a cool dude. And if they're not, then they're not. But at least like don't put them on this weird pedestal where then you don't talk to anybody.
Right, exactly. And I'm glad you asked, because as soon as you said it, I was like, yes, I do want you on this show. Actually, I really enjoyed your guys, and it would be great to have you on here. So thank you for doing it, and I'm really glad you're on it. But I would like to, now that we've talked about all that, I should mention this is a good segue now for me to ask you about what the worst show that you've played is.
So there's one that comes to mind, maybe because it was like
I like that I asked you this
after.
I like that I asked you this after like this really heartwarming, hopeful conversation that we just had, and then I'm like, that's great, right on. Now tell me about when it all went to shit.
Tell me about the moment you almost quit punk rock.
Just to balance it out.
So we played this show like it was like maybe a year and a half ago, and it was with this band, the Huntingtons, who they were never on my radar. Apparently, they were like Joey Ramone's backing band at some point, like after the Ramones were just, that was like kind of like their big claim to fame, but I had never heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got asked to play the show with them in Queens. And first or second song in, I break a string on one of my guitars. And I'm like, oh, that's annoying, but that's fine, because, you know, I always bring the backup, not a big deal.
It happens.
So the next song I pull up the other guitar. Again, by the end of like the first chorus, I break another string on that guitar. And I'm just like, all right, well, we've got 25 minutes to go, and I have no more guitars to keep grabbing from. And then, so I have to kind of just wing it without a D string, which is a really important string for most songs.
That's an important one. Yeah.
And so it wasn't even like a high E or a low E where I can kind of like fake around it. It was like one of the middle strings. And then on top of all that, something must have happened with one of my cables. I don't know if the cable was done, or because I move around a lot, maybe I slightly unplugged it, where then the sound from my amp just stopped. Ugh. This is all in the first 8 minutes of the set.
Are you
so
serious?
I've gone through 2 guitars, an amp, not playing anything. So I gave him the kind of the look, like, just keep playing. I'll figure something out. And then, so I'm just sitting there, like, I had to skip an entire song, just checking, like, unplug everything. And then I plugged directly from my guitar to the amp. Like, maybe that's the cable that works fine, and it's all the other stuff, the pedals in the middle that aren't working out, whatever the case may be. So I had to then fight my way. And, of course, by that point, then you're just pissed off. Because nothing's working. You can't figure it out. You're on the stage, so you can't just stop the show. So it was a real battle getting through that one. Then once the show was over, I just like grabbed my stuff, I just walked away, and I just like kind of pouted for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one that I specifically remember, just because like I said, more recent history. I'm sure there's other ones. Like I break strings all the time because I play too hard, but it definitely happened before. There was a show in Boston that my old band played, where it was like a weird show. It was the kind of thing where like it was clearly a thrown together lineup. It was like us, a political punk band, and then like a reggae band, and then a metal band. So it's pretty much like the promoter, like whoever can play, you're just gonna play, and that's it. And after the show, I saw the promoter like walk out the door. I figured, oh, he's probably just smoking a quick cigarette. He'll be right back. And then through the window, I see him get into a cab and just leave without paying anybody.
Oh shit!
So I had to chase the bartender down, and I was like, look, I'm telling you right now, like, we're not leaving until that guy comes back. And if that means that I'm sleeping in this bar, I'm sleeping in this bar. And so he had to call the guy back. It's like, you know, like, you guys didn't bring 10 people to the show. And that was like the rule, like, you don't get paid unless you bring 10 people. And we, luckily enough, like, had some friends in Boston. And I told everyone, like, everyone just stay here for a second, because we were all going to go out to dinner or something anyway. And I was like, well, I've got 17 people right here that prove to you that we did bring more than 10 people. So if you could pay us our money, that would be really cool. Or, I mean, I wasn't going to like physically intimidate him or anything. I wasn't going to like fight him over the money. It was just like really shitty. Like, it was like one of our first tours, and I had to deal with chasing down the shitty promoter to get paid like $60.
Ugh. That's the worst. I mean, I've been there, and it sucks every time. And it's just like, I know clubs are struggling and people are trying to make ends meet, but it's like, you gotta pay what you promise, and you gotta you can't you can't be like that. It just makes it so much harder for everybody. It's better also to be honest. Mm-hmm. It's like, look, this is how many people came, this is where the money went, this is what it is, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. You know what I mean? It's like 9 times out of 10 when I've seen a promoter be honest with people, like, even as an observer, as somebody who worked a show, as a band on the show, I've seen people, generally people are fairly reasonable. It's like, if that's that, that's that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, nobody's dumb.
Because the thing, too, is that, like, he had set, like, the established rule. Like, if you bring 10 people, you're going to get paid. It wasn't one of those, like, oh, well, we paid the bar. And it's like, well, then don't set the rule then. Like, if you want to be more ambiguous, I'm like, yeah, we'll still get fucked over in the end. But at least, like, we don't have, like, the guarantee, like, oh, well, we're going to get paid something because we had X amount of people show up.
Right.
Like, that's where I got mad about it. Like, then don't tell me that's the rule if you're not going to follow that rule. if you're gonna lie to me, at least lie to me from the first email.
Right.
And then,
Nope, totally makes sense. And I mean, it's just better to be honest, because if there's a reality of like, look, this is how many people came, this is what money came in, this is what it has to pay for, and this is what I'm left with. Then, it's like, okay, at least you see, oh, okay, I get it. I see the problems, or I see how it's working. But yeah, just to bail or sneak off, that's just terrible. And your other problem, it broke my heart because like one stage tech would make all the difference. Because we just played San Francisco, first time in a long time. Sold out show, super fun, everything went great. It's a great show, but I actually, technically speaking, had a really rough show. I didn't break any strings, but I had a ton of cable problems. My wireless went out, and it's like, even at the New York show I played with you, we had mic problems, and we had a lot of problems on stage. We had a lot of technical problems at that show, but we still loved that show. Like, the New York show was amazing. San Francisco show went great. I was the only one that had issues. But, it's like, it's how you handle them. And it's like you said, sometimes you're like, you just got to stop and have everyone keep going. Keep the show going, do the best you can while somebody helps. But it's like, it's just a little heartbreaking, because your bad experience could have been so much helped if you had a tech or somebody there to be like, I got you. Here, I put a new string on the other guitar. There it is. Go, play again. Or then I'll take this one. Oh, something's wrong with the amp. I'm working on it. Keep playing. All right, I got it working. It's like, well, for us, it's Charlie Price.
So I remember for that show, the one that you, I remember the show you played with us. Like you said, the mics went out. So like, I remember like while people were trying to figure something out for you, like you lost your voice because you were just yelling like, well, I guess I don't have a mic tonight. And then I remember you lost your voice towards the end of that show because you were just like, well, I'm not going to stop singing. And I remember you just yelled into the crowd, which is awesome. Like, the fact that you just kept it going.
But I mean, like, we get problems all the time. Hell, I was so stoked. Somebody stole one of our mics that night, and then it got like, found, like,
it was actually our singer's girlfriend found it.
Yeah, she found it, and we were so grateful. Like, somebody ditched it wherever, you know what I mean? And we were just like, I had actually appealed to the crowd. I was like, guys, I know you think that microphone's rad, but without the other piece, it's useless. Please give it back. It really means a lot to us. I mean, I know you think this is a cool mic that you can use, but without the piece that we have, it's kind of useless. It's really expensive.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful for New York, for Brooklyn, because they dropped it, and then like, thank God she found it. We gave her a free shirt. We're like, thank you so much for finding this. Yeah,
she found it like under a table, or it must have rolled over or something. Like,
no, I mean where it was.
But I remember it.
Yeah, it hadn't rolled off, because where it was compared to where it had been taken from was way far apart. But it was like, but I was just grateful that somebody went, okay, fuck it, then I'm not going to take this, But I mean, that's the difference. Right. Sometimes I always say the difference between like somebody who's a professional and someone who isn't, honestly, is like how you handle it. It's like it's real easy to put on a great show when everything goes right, but can you put on a great show and have a good time when things go wrong? You know what I mean? Like, can you hold it together? And
how do you make the best of that situation?
Right. I don't blame you for pouting afterwards. I would have pouted afterwards too. I pouted for a minute after the San Francisco show because I was like, I just had nothing but cable problems. But it's like breaking two strings, going through two guitars and an amp in the first 8 minutes of a 25-minute set is heartbreaking. So, I completely understand how you felt, but but I like that you told everyone, keep going, keep playing. I got this. Just keep it going. Don't stop. So. Yeah.
Luckily, we have two guitars, so he was able to just like kind of mask it. Like, if it was just bass, vocals, and drums, that would have sounded weird. But you can't just stop. Like, then am I going to stop the whole show? Everyone's going to wait for me to figure out a guitar. Like, hey, does anyone have a guitar I could borrow from the other bands? And then next thing you know, your set time's over anyway. So you might as well just let the rest of them keep playing while you figure out if you can somehow jump back in.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, is it security service?
Yes.
Yes, I need some security.
Yes.
Yes, I'm very insecure.
You've been listening to Guili Remondi, guitarist of the band Sketchy. If you want to find out more about Sketchy, check out their Facebook at facebook.com/sketchyband. If you want to find out more about 3 Gigs, check out our website at 3gigspodcast.com. We have extras from all of our guests, including footage of Sketchy. So check it out. You can also find us online on our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram just by searching 3 Gigs Podcast. Give us a follow. Let us know what you think of the show and who you'd like to see on in the future. I'm listening. I'm always listening. Our theme music for this show was Tight 6. And then we're closing with Never Meant to Get This Old, both from the album Heck by Sketchy, out now on For the Love of Punk Records. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Dominic Davey. This has been 3 Gigs, and I'll see you next time.